So while looking at the perfect destroy ending, I realized it's already impacted every race in Mass Effect 5. Not because the next game is going to canonize destroy, but because of a really important difference in that ending. In the normal destroy ending, Shepard dies, but in the perfect destroy ending, Shepard lives. And I think that the reason behind Shepard living or dying is related to two separate settings on the Crucible. The Crucible's normal destroy ending is missing the key ingredient perfect destroy possesses. And now in the next Mass Effect, we're also seeing this same distinct split within each race. The Asari are building space elevators, humanity are building new relays, and the Krogan are preparing for civil war. And the crazy part is, the destroy ending already warned us which of these races are destined to fail. Some of them possess the Crucible's perfect destroy setting, and others the normal destroy setting. And that key difference will tell us who won't survive the Milky Way's incoming First Contact war, while others are set to thrive. In order to find out what that difference is, we'll dive right into this lore-based theory, starting with the destroy ending's biggest question. Why does Shepard die in destroy, but live in perfect destroy? To answer this question, we have to figure out how synthetic Shepard became after the Lazarus project. Prior to their death, when the commander defeated Saren and saved the Citadel, they were 100% organic. Their eyes, skin, spine, and face were what they were born with. And then the Collectors rocked up to change that. After they destroyed the Normandy SR-1, Shepard fell a terrifying distance from Alkera's atmosphere to its surface, resulting in their death. And after Liara gave the commander's body to Cerberus, the Lazarus project began, altering Shepard's body forever. Instead of being fully organic, Shepard slowly became partially synthetic. Cybernetic implants were used to hold Shepard's spine together, along with other parts of their skeleton. Reconstruction of the commander's skin and internal organs was difficult but essential, and eventually, it was all complete. The end product, 2 years and over 4 billion credits later, was the rebirth of Commander Shepard. They had a few facial scars that still needed healing, but otherwise, Shepard was back from the dead. And the key difference after the Lazarus project was that they were very much more synthetic than they were before. Shepard's synthetic nature after the Lazarus project is related to why they die in the destroy ending. And to answer why the commander lives in perfect destroy, we have to examine how their synthetics actually work, which we literally saw whenever Shepard performed a Renegade action like this one. The commander casually throws this Eclipse trooper out the window with one of the most ice-cold lines in the trilogy.
How about goodbye?
Now, even though the channel name is Paragon 7, even I can appreciate how badass that was. Putting that aside though, what's important to us here is how Shepard's Renegade action affects their synthetics, and more specifically, the synthetics clearly visible on their face. With every Renegade action, Shepard's scars from the Lazarus project get more and more visible. Their face begins to crack substantially, with a reddish glow underneath, which is obviously not an organic trait. With each Renegade dialogue choice and interrupt, Shepard's facial scarring only continues to worsen, until eventually, even their eyes begin to change. A deep reddish gleam from within appears as the commander's ruthless actions rack up, which is definitely not something Shepard's eyes did prior to the Lazarus project. Clearly, in Mass Effect 2, when Shepard is more Renegade, their synthetic nature begins to show more. The glow from within their skin and eyes literally break through Shepard's organic skin, the more apathetic they become. But, very interestingly, the opposite happens when Shepard is more empathetic. With each Paragon action, the commander's scars actually heal over time, erasing the evidence that they had even died. There is virtually no indication of Shepard's synthetics, which is a very clear choice the game made regarding the morality system. When Shepard is more Paragon, they are visibly less synthetic and more organic. But when the commander is more Renegade, they show more of their synthetics, overriding their organic roots, which basically implies that synthetics are more ruthless and uncaring, while organics are more compassionate and good. This way of thinking was reflected in the conflict of the trilogy as well, where the Geth and the Reapers were seen as inherently evil, who deserved to be destroyed. And this same mindset matches how the normal destroy ending functions, but as I'm sure you can tell, it's very closed-minded. By this logic, partial synthetics like Shepard would also be considered ruthless and evil. But obviously, Shepard is capable of being kind or mean. The morality of organics and synthetics aren't as clear-cut as the commander's facial scarring makes it out to be. So, is there a way to determine good versus evil, if not organics versus synthetics? Well, I think there actually is, which is found in the difference between normal and perfect destroy. To determine exactly what that difference is, Shepard's decision to activate Legion gives us part of the answer. When Shepard was deciding whether to turn Legion on or not, Miranda and Jacob were very much against it. After all, the Geth were siding with the Reapers, aiding in their mission to wipe all organics out. In their minds, no Geth could be trusted. But Shepard wanted to see if Legion was different. Through Paragon options, the commander can decide to activate him and learn just how different his perspective was. And once activated, Legion explains to Shepard how there are two groups of Geth: regular Geth, who oppose the Reapers, and the heretic Geth, who side with them. Shepard finally learned that the Geth they were eliminating couldn't all be lumped together in one group. There were clear distinctions within the Geth, at least in Shepard's eyes, of being good versus evil. The regular Geth were against the Reapers, so they were the good ones. But the heretical Geth were obviously on the evil side, wanting only AIs to reign supreme. So through Legion, Shepard discovered that the Geth were diverse, capable of different morals and philosophies. All synthetics weren't evil, ruthless, and apathetic to organics, which was opposite to what the morality system in Mass Effect 2 was telling us. Being more compassionate wasn't automatically an organic trait, and ruthlessness wasn't always associated with synthetics. There was nuance in the way organics and synthetics act, showing that good versus evil isn't so clear-cut, which is what we're also seeing in Mass Effect 5's tease about a Krogan civil war. The executive producer of the next Mass Effect, Mike Gamble, has confirmed that this civil war is likely against other Krogans. And as with any war, there's naturally going to be good Krogans versus bad Krogans. However, how will we determine which side is which? Can we say for certain that these Krogan in the illustration are the bad guys? Based on this analysis, I think we actually can, especially if we interpret the Destroy ending's warning. And this same warning also helps explain why Shepard survives one version of Destroy, but not the other. In Mass Effect 3, the normal Destroy ending is available with the lowest war assets from the Reaper War, and using it comes at a major cost. With very low assets, even though the Reapers end up destroyed, all synthetics are also taken out. The galaxy suffers major damage, and even Earth is annihilated. But luckily, this isn't the only version of Destroy that exists. There are more nuanced epilogues to Destroy, depending on the amount of war assets Shepard obtained. With mid-range assets, the galaxy suffers less damage, the Earth survives, but still, EDI and the Geth are annihilated. And it's important to note that with mid-range assets and below, Shepard also dies, despite not being an AI. This is because, as the Catalyst explains, the Destroy setting of the Crucible does not discriminate between Reapers and synthetics. It simply acts as a synthetic killing beam, taking out all technology along with the Reapers, which is the exact same mentality as the Renegade scars from Mass Effect 2. As Shepard became more ruthless and apathetic to those around them, their synthetic scars became worse and worse. And the low assets version of Destroy also reinforced the idea that synthetics as a whole are evil, so they must all be destroyed, with no nuance whatsoever. Essentially, monolithic destruction to unknown synthetics is what normal Destroy represents. The Reapers die, the Geth die, and even EDI too. And this is what also kills the now cybernetic, yet still considered organic, Shepard. And yet, in Perfect Destroy, Shepard somehow lives. And after all the analysis we've done, the most likely theory as to why is this. Perfect Destroy is only available with close to the maximum amount of war assets available. And the only way for Shepard to obtain such high assets is through various Paragon actions throughout the trilogy. Through empathetic decisions, Shepard slowly recruits a diverse range of races and countless top scientists and engineers. By accumulating the top talent of every species in the Milky Way, the Crucible becomes the most ready it could ever be. And because it doesn't kill Shepard in its most ready state, it's likely because the Crucible only targets Reaper technology. And we know for certain that Shepard wasn't built with Reaper tech during the Lazarus project. Only during the Reaper War does Reaper integration become a thing, with the Elusive Man and Cerberus soldiers literally indoctrinating themselves to gain more power. So Shepard likely survived because they had good old simple cybernetics. And the biggest indication of this theory being legit is because Edie and the Geth die in both versions of Destroy, and both those forms of AI were actually built with Reaper technology. Cerberus partially built Edie using Sovereign's remains, so even when the perfect Destroy beam goes out, she stands no chance of surviving it. And if the Geth survived past the Rannoch conflict, they were all enhanced with Reaper upgrades thanks to Legion. So they too, unfortunately, were partially built with Reaper technology. Even the Citadel and mass relays get partially destroyed because they were also built by the Reapers. But very crucially, Shepard, who wasn't built with Reaper technology, lives. So based on all this, I think the key difference between Perfect Destroy and Normal Destroy is literally because the Crucible targets only Reaper technology with high enough war assets. In the simplest sense, Normal Destroy is the Crucible's divisive setting, with no discrimination between Reapers or cybernetic implants like Shepard's. But the Perfect Destroy setting represents unity, with the majority of the Milky Way coming together to destroy only the Reaper's influence. Through pooling of resources, intelligence, and willpower, the galaxy is able to accomplish their ultimate goal. However, no matter which setting of Destroy is chosen, Admiral Hackett provides a very clear warning.
This wasn't a victory by a single fleet, a single army, or even a single species. If this war has taught us anything, it is that we are at our strongest when we work together. And if we can put down our grievances long enough to stop something as powerful as the Reapers, imagine what we can achieve now that they are defeated. Together, we can build a future greater than any one of us could imagine.
Hackett's implication here is that the correct choice between the Destroy settings is, of course, Perfect Destroy. It represents a united galaxy, instead of one that fights against one another in countless conflicts. But his monologue also gave all the Milky Way races an explicit warning. After the Reaper War, if the Milky Way continued putting aside their grievances, all the races could accomplish so much working together. And if they didn't, then they were destined to fail. And now, in the next Mass Effect, we're seeing Hackett's warning being thrown out the airlock. In Mass Effect 5's Civil War tease, Gamble specifically mentioned that these Krogan are likely fighting other Krogan, and they're also wielding completely new weapons that look to be powered by Element Zero. Most guns in the Reaper War were powered by mass accelerators using an internal EZO core. However, these guns have EZO visibly on the top surface. New weapons like this are rarely just for show. It's a clear indication that these Krogan have come prepped for an intense war, apparently with other fellow Krogan. And to make matters worse, based on the next Mass Effect teases, there's been a clear pattern that a First Contact war is also incoming. The first audio clip in the Game Awards trailer is from a book titled The War of the Worlds. And in that very same trailer, we also hear a voice say, "Unknown vessel approaching, we need first contact protocols." In the new Relay tease, this trend continues, with the number 314 in this text box, which is a nod to the Relay 314 incident. This was also called the First Contact War by humanity, since it was their first time encountering aliens. So what this is setting up in Mass Effect 5 is that history is going to repeat itself with a second massive galactic war, but with one very specific difference. Unlike the Reapers, this time it's going to be against a race unknown to the Milky Way. Simple distinctions of organics versus synthetics likely isn't going to work, especially if the synthesis ending is also in play. But the biggest problem is that infighting among the Milky Way has begun, before the First Contact War has even started, and we have no indication if the Milky Way races are going to unite again. We've seen teases of the Asari building space elevators and humanity building a new relay. After the Reaper War, it's clear that every race is undergoing a major technological renaissance. But will the Milky Way share all their newfound technologies with one another to once again defeat an unknown foe? Or are they all destined to be destroyed, one by one? Once again, the Destroy ending holds the answer. Using the exact same crucible and choosing the exact same option, two different outcomes were possible: the path of unity, allowing Shepard to live, and the path of division, resulting in monolithic destruction. These same two paths will be present in the upcoming First Contact War: division or unity, good versus evil, the wrong choice or the right one. And I believe the races that stand united will thrive in the war ahead, while the ones looking to divide are destined to fail. Regardless, we won't know for certain how the First Contact War will play out, but we do know about a dropped storyline that's returning in Mass Effect 5. Watch this video next to see the dropped plot that's making a comeback, which implies the trilogy isn't finished yet. See you there!